Greetings, my fellow trim-loaded sovereign thinkers. This is L3 Blues Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida. And today's date, Thursday, November 1st, 2018. So let us begin. Good day, folks. Thanks for tuning in. All Saints Day. Woo! November coming fire. Samhain Grim, right? Yeah, so many of those folks are out there partying, having a great time while I was doing some cadavering. Work-wise, to be exact. Very interesting indeed. And our crew did a nice job. No one, got grossed out or anything like that. Cadaver's Paradise on Halloween. That was me. Oh, you gotta make a living, right? Stagehand business is one interesting profession. Alright, I'm at Stash, located at 107 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of the Hemisphere District in Fort Lauderdale. Adjacent with Revolution Live in America's backyard. Cool little coffee shop, speakeasy joint, all that. We had a little bunch of folks up there doing a little rally, pep funk forum. Pretty inspiring. And so decided to went to bed after I got home. But that's okay. It was one of those things, you work a lot and you get zonked. And so actually I'm going to be addressing whichever everyone's up in arms, for or against, the Trump executive order on birthrights, anchor babies, whatever you want to call it. And of course, always in the partisan perspective, everyone's praising, everyone is against it, calling him a racist and all that. Because what's going on with the migrant caravan from Honduras. And I know I posted stuff on there, one video pertaining to U.S. foreign policy. So I always try to look at all sides, and the ones that listen to my show understand completely what I'm talking about. So we're going to be narrating that from Bob Livingston's personalliberty.com. Always enjoy his work because he used it a lot, more of a broader perspective, which the garbage media don't want you to know. So, from personalliberty.com, Trump's anchor baby executive order. And as it reads, President Donald Trump threw another hand grenade into a legal immigration debate when he proposed this week that he could end birthright citizenship with an executive order. Where's my magic lamp? Psh, right? A lot of presses did the same thing on do by law under executive order. If you study these things, my friends, it's nothing new. So don't go have Trump-anxiety or Trump worshiping or Trump bashing. You know how that goes. I start laughing when people post stuff like that. Love them or hate them. My Lord and Savior. My worst enemy. Worst president in history. But nothing new. The status quo continues. Isn't that the first time Trump has weighed on the anchor baby issue, having said it in 2015, the practice needs to be halted, that an act of Congress would accomplish it. Nor is Trump the only one who's ever proposed such a thing. Representative Steve King, Republican from Iowa, introduced legislation in the House to end the practice in 2011, 2013, and 2015. Former Democrat Senator Henry Reid, the corrupt man from Nevada, introduced Immigration and Stabilization Act in 1993. History has shown that a feckless Congress, beholden to its corporate and union masters, has no interest in addressing immigration laws. Trump knows this. Conventional wisdom holds that the 14th Amendment grants citizenship on anchor babies based on its opening clause. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. It sounds like a corporate law, what we say, right? The United States of America as a federal corporation, not a republic. Mainstream legal scholars, also known as constitutional scholars, in the mainstream propaganda media, implying that scholars who hold an opposing view are not constitutional scholars. hold that everyone born in the U.S. is a subject to the jurisdiction thereof and are thereof citizens at birth. But that's not what the 14th Amendment framers had in mind. A little history. The 14th Amendment was proposed to combat laws called black codes that regulate behavior of newly freed black slaves following the War of Northern Aggression. Hopefully you call it the Civil War, which it was an illegal conflict, never approved by Congress, because the Confederate States of America was a new country, my friends, whether if you agree with it or not. But I will continue on here. The codes were first implemented by the Union Army occupying the former Confederate States. Both southern and northern states later took up black codes of their own to establish and assure that newly freed blacks had all the privileges and immunities of white citizens, i.e., they could own property, conduct business, buy and lease land, and move freely in public places. Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866 when he introduced the bill. Congressman James F. Wilson said it provides for the equality of citizens of the United States in the enjoyment of all civil rights and immunities. So you can see what's going on about civil. It should be natural rights. See, they're like ignoring the 9th Amendment, to be exact. So I will continue on here. What do these terms mean? Do they mean that all things civil, social, political, all citizens, without distinction of race or color, shall be equal? By no means can they be so construed. Do they mean that all citizens shall vote in the several states? No, for suffrage is a political right which has been left under the control of the several states, subject to the action of Congress only when it becomes necessary to enforce the guarantee of a republican form of government, protection against a monarchy. Nor did they mean that all citizens shall sit on the juries or that their children shall attend the same schools. The definitions given the term civil rights in Broadview's Law Dictionary is very concise, and is supported by the best authority. It is the civil rights are those which have no relation to the establishment, support, or management of government. How astute, right? The opening clause of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 reads that all persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians, not taxed, are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. It is conceivable that the same group of men that passed a law in Congress that excludes citizenship to people subject to foreign power, then overrode a presidential veto on that bill, which will turn around and pass an amendment to ensure the act remain in force, grant citizenship status to the people subject to any foreign power. You know about dual citizenship? Yeah. Congress suspected the Civil Rights Act could be overturned and rendered unconstitutional, so lawmakers drafted the 14th Amendment in order to prevent its repeal and to give the support to constitutional footing, but the 14th Amendment was never lawfully ratified. And during that time, if I'm correct, about the Civil Rights Act of 1866 got vetoed. Andrew Johnson, I believe that was his name, but I'll proceed. The author of the 14th Amendment, Representative John Bingham of Ohio, defended the introductory clause on the House floor. He said, "I find no fault with the introductory clause, which is simply declaratory of what is written in the Constitution, that every human being born within the jurisdiction of the United States of parents are not owning allegiance to any foreign sovereignty. In the language of your Constitution itself, a natural-born citizen." Senator Jacob Howard, a backer to the amendment in the Senate, expressed the framers' intent. This amendment, which I have offered, is simply declaratory of what I regard as a law of the land already, that every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law, a national law, a citizen of the United States. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States. It will include every other class of persons. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubts as to what persons are not citizens of the United States. This has long been a great decidatory in the jurisprudence and legislation of the country. This echoed the sentiments of the founding fathers who, though living in a new nation with a population consistently mostly of recent immigrants, recognized the danger of too many aliens arriving at once without the desire to assimilate into the spirit of the new country. Immigrants will bring them principles of governments they live, embodied in their every early youth. Thomas Jefferson wrote in his Notes of the State of Virginia, or if able to throw off, it will be in exchange for unbounded licentiousness, passing as usual from one extreme to the other. It will be a miracle if they were to stop precisely at the point of temperate liberty. And writing an examination of the President's message in 1802 for the New York Evening Post, Alexander Hamilton posited that some reasonable term ought to be allowed to enable aliens to get rid of foreign and acquire American attachments, to learn the principles and the imbibed, the spirit of our government, and to admit a probability at least of their feeling a real interest in our affairs. So, it's not saying, like he's saying, dual citizenship is not good. You got a lot of people in Congress, whether U.S. House or Senate, are dual citizens. Major conflict of interest, correct? And I'm not a big Hamilton support lover in a lot of areas, but he's right on this statement. I strongly oppose rule by executive order, which is an unconstitutional power grab over Congress and running president for an imperial presidency. But this seems more an effort at nullifying unconstitutional edicts of the federal courts than a power grab. After John Adams signed legislation that made it a treasonable activity to publish any false, scandalous, or malicious writings, which became the Alien Sedition Act, Jefferson and James Madison drafted Kentucky resolutions and resolutions for Virginia that essentially said, when the federal government assumes undelegated powers, those not enumerated in the Constitution, those acts are unauthoritative, void, and of no force. These came to be known as the Principles of 98. Yeah, you should look these up. I don't know, I did a show on this a while back. But look up the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. It's very interesting. That's why I'm pro states' rights, 10th Amendment, my friends, because of stuff like this. Alexander Hamilton posited the same idea in Federalist 78, writing, there is no position which depends on clear principles, and that every act of a delegated authority contrary to the tenor of the commission under which is exercised is void. No legislative act, therefore, contrary to the Constitution can be valid. This thought is also confided in U.S. law. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and the name of law, is in reality no law, but is wholly void and ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionality dates from the time of its enactment and not merely from the date of the decision, so branding it an unconstitutional law in legal contemplation. It is an inoperative as if it had never been passed. An unconstitutional law is void. If Trump does sign an executive order to end the practice of anchor baby citizenship, his goal may be to get the issue before the Supreme Court so it can become settled law. At least that seems to be the case, given one of his latest tweets on the subject. Harry Reid was right in 1993 before he and the Democrats went insane and started with the open borders, which brings massive crime stuff. Don't forget the nasty term anchor babies. I will keep our country safe. This case will be settled by the United States Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has never ruled on a case specifically dealing with the right citizenship issue, despite what the mainstream pundits and leftist echo chamber have claimed. Well, This is very interesting because the truth of the matter is, my friends, you have to look at these areas in the bigger picture. And what's funny about it is when you have all these people worshiping, all the Trump lovers, praising the executive order, all the Trump haters call him racist, a Nazi, and all that good stuff. But it's so funny, ironically, when the predecessor, Trump's predecessor, it's the same thing. Same scenario. It's like a double speak. A long my man does it, it's okay. Cult of personality syndrome, to be exact. And to be very frank, I did a little homework on it about the 14th Amendment. It is null and void, as far as I'm concerned, based on my research and information sharing and all that. Because the Reconstruction Act of 1871, that made things what it is we're living now under Title 28 U.S. Code 3002. The United States of America as a federal corporation. That's under subsection 15. You can look it up. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take too long on this episode. I'm just very, brief right now. Relaxed. I'm going to add a show I've done 3 years ago. It's called The 14th Amendment is Null and Void. And it has stuff about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment never passed. It has some footnotes. If you can hear my voice, you can. If not, you can look at the footnotes. It's very interesting indeed. There are times I try to share this with folks. They go, read the 14th Amendment, moron. They never take the initiative on looking at these links. So if you're going to make statements without doing your homework, as far as I'm concerned, your rhetoric is negated. Null and void. All right, my friends, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or maybe send something that's interesting, man, I'll check out. Whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. I will post all my social media sites on my Spreaker page. I know Gab has been having issues because of what happened with the Tree of Life massacre. And you got these ass clowns on CNN and these garbage media saying Gab is responsible for having him on their social media site. Let me tell you folks something. I have a Gab account. And I'm very familiar with the conditions. They are pro freedom of speech. But going around saying I'm going to go kill people and murder them, technically, that's egregious. You can be critical about certain people or certain groups. That is your prerogative. I don't need to listen to it. I don't need to cry to Gab or any social media site. But I can tell you this, Twitter, Facebook, and these big tech giants consider them a threat. So I recommend everyone out there who support these alternative social media sites. Freedom of speech is a natural right. Period. If you don't like it, go back to your cave and get the hell out of my country, regardless if you're born here or not, or what you look like, and who you are. All right? I am not anything being a bigot, racist, anything like that. I am an equal opportunity insulter. And that's how I see things. All right. That is it. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.